Hi, and welcome to Black and White. This is Bobby.
This is Charles. The white side of the table over here, I suppose.
Yeah, imagine that, Doc. Another very busy week, a lot going on across the country.
You're the darker tan, I'm the lighter tan, but we'll call it black and white.
No. I'm the prettier tan.
Well, that's hard to deny.
Yeah, a lot going on this week, Doc, across America. I saw where one of the heads of the department in the Trump administration, she turned her resignation in, said that she just couldn't take it anymore, went against all that she believed. Another shooting, police shooting in Atlanta. A lot going on across America, Doc. A lot of changes taking place. A lot of things that are frightening me and scaring me. We've got to bring some change back. What do you think? What's going on?
Well, it's interesting to me. Everybody in the world, I guess, has become a sort of a photographer and a reporter. Everybody in the world has a cell phone they can videotape, and plus there's a videotape on every building. A CCTV or whatever everywhere you look. And so I wanted to ask you a question about it, because it seems that we're seeing the videos from time to time. We saw the horrible George Floyd killing, and now we've seen the one in Atlanta, and every now and then we see another one.
Aren't you grateful for the videos?
I am, but here's what I'm curious about.
Go ahead.
So it seems like there are endless millions of videos that we're not seeing, right? You're in law enforcement. I'm guessing that you've seen endless videos that you would hope that no one else would ever have to see.
But here's the thing, though, right? I'm sure there's a plethora of videos out there of racism and all types of things that are happening. And just imagine the things that happened years ago before we had the technology of video that have happened, the racism and atrocities that have been committed by people. But here's the other thing. Even though there's video out there and video that we have not seen and videos of atrocities that happen from the beginning of our country to even now that no one has ever seen, at the end of the day, though, God still sees it all.
Well, I think that's probably the most powerful point that'll be made today, because
God still sees it.
There are, I think, selective people who put forward some videos for sometimes to make certain points. I'm actually getting a little paranoid as into, I don't know if I believe the story behind the videos anymore. So somebody plays a video, makes some point about the video, and the whole world is supposed to believe the point just because there is a video.
Right.
And like police tracking down and killing black people seemed to be the story that came out of the George Floyd killing, because we have this one powerful, emotional, horrible example. Then we're supposed to just believe that is systemic across the country, that police forces are tracking down and killing black people. But the statistics, the data just doesn't support that. And so I'm not sure I'm going to just believe videos on their face.
What did you think about the Atlanta shooting, though?
Well, I had mixed emotions about the Atlanta shooting. On the one hand,
let's hear them. This is going to be let's hear this.
Well, you're the law enforcement person. I should be asking you that question. I'm the college president, so I just have opinions. You have actual knowledge of it.
But see, it won't be any law enforcement personnel on the jury. It'll be college president. It'll be people from every walk of life except law enforcement. So I want to hear what you think.
Well,
about it.
I would say first and foremost, I wish we would slow down a little bit and let the juries actually reach some conclusions, because it seems like what we're doing nowadays is we're all rushing to judgment. We're trying it in the public. We see some probably partial video clip. We don't know context. We don't know everything that happened in people's lives leading up to that moment. There's a lot of things we don't know. In a trial, both sides will actually get to present lots and lots and lots of evidence. Well, maybe the evidence will come out and say the guy that pulled the trigger has had a history of racism and hates black people. Maybe it'll come out and we'll find out that he was like the biggest champion of black people the world has ever seen. But when you see a video, you don't know any of that. You just know what you can see, but you don't know everything else that you can't see. A jury gets to see all that. And in our system, we said that we would have trial by jury, not trial by mob. I mean, if there's any people in the world that should hate trial by mob, it should be black people, because they were on the receiving end of that for most of their history.
People ask me all the time, about Black Lives Matter. How do you feel about that? Just give me that from a president, white, middle-aged man, president of a university. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, if Black Lives Matter meant that we're going to champion black lives, I would be the person screaming it the loudest and carrying the biggest sign. And I would say that I've been shouting that for many, many years. Almost basically all of my adult life, I've been screaming out Black Lives Matter in everything that I have done. When I was a pastor as a church, when I was planting churches, when I was insisting that we be multicultural and multiracial, when I got to Piedmont and moved it Piedmont International University here, and we moved it from an all-white school to now the most racially diverse university in the United States. I've been screaming Black Lives Matter in all those places.
So you think they matter?
Very, very, very much. But if Black Lives Matter is the political movement or an organization run by the three women that seem to be more about destroying the nuclear family, I wouldn't hold that sign up because I don't believe that we should be promoting anti-capitalism, defund the police.
I think that when people talk about Black Lives Matter, just my perspective, and I could be wrong, but this is just one man's perspective. I just look at it like, for an example, and this is the analogy that I use. Let's say all of us live in the same neighborhood, right? And let's say my house catches on fire tonight, and the fire department shows up, and they realize that it is my house is on fire, so it is my house that they're throwing the water on, right? That doesn't mean that your house is not valuable or the house to the left or the right is not valuable. It means that this night, this house, this day is the house that needs the water and the attention. And so if you ever been to a house fire, I worked in the fire department many years ago. What happens at a house fire, not only does the house on fire get water, but they throw water on both sides of the house, basically like a water curtain, because heat is transferable. And what they realize that if they don't get this house fire under control, the heat from this fire has the ability to connect and get your house on fire, your business on fire, and then eventually you'll have a neighborhood fire, a city fire, probably state, and a national fire. So the way I look at that is that simple, is that right now what's happening in America, right? This house is what needs attention, and this house is what needs the water. And so I think that we as a country are going down some dangerous roads. I do. We've got to stop the divisiveness. We've got to do that. I'm concerned about a lot of things that I see across the country because we are at a very pivotal point in our society. You know, you and I were talking about the number of guns that are being sold, the number of ammo that is being purchased to the point to where there's no ammo on the shelves.
So you're the sheriff, which means that you're the office where I must go get a concealed carry permit if I want a gun, right?
Permit, true.
So it's your office.
Of course.
So are you seeing like an increase in that? Or does it stay in the same? What's happened?
Increase is not the word. Increase is an understatement. And so I think that I can't speak for what's happening around the world, around the country, but if I was betting, I'd bet the same phenomenon is happening across this country. And so we're becoming too divided. You know, it's one country, under God, indivisible, with justice and liberty for all people. And I think that that's what we've got to realize because we're moving in some dangerous places. We are. You know, I'm not for one that says, let's defund. I think that I'm one for let's increase the funding because by increasing the funding, you'll get a better quality of an applicant out there. And also by increasing the funding, it gives you ability to put some what I call customer service things in place to catch those loops or to catch those persons that we need to weed out. Because you're talking about most police departments across the country are probably underfunded already. And you're talking about defunding, reallocating. You will cripple them and enable them to not provide the service at the level that they need to provide us. For an example, the vetting of the officers, the training, the de-escalation, all these things cost money. Mm-hmm. It costs presidents, you know what I mean? It costs them things that you put on the money, the president. It costs us money. And that's what is needed to increase the level that we're talking about needed. So for an example, you and I have had these conversations before offline, is that every 5 years a human being changes. Every 5 years you change, people change, the mind changes. But every 5 years there's no system in place in law enforcement where we re-evaluate and re-vet the men and women that serve. Now at the federal level, I've shared this with you before, every 5 years you have to go through a background investigation. They come out and they do all these things to make sure that you're still fit to operate as a special agent. I think that same phenomenon, if the budgets would allow that every 5 years you go back and you recertify, you reinvestigate, you go through social media, you go through everything that you went through to get hired. Because when a person comes on the job, they're forever changing. And so I think that defunding doesn't sit well with me. I think we can recreate law enforcement agencies around the country, but defunding,
I couldn't agree more. And, I'd like to start a fund the police movement. Black Lives Matter. Let's fund the police, because from what I understand, the black communities aren't in favor of defunding the police. I think their polls are like 70% the other way. They would like to have good, not bad, but good law enforcement. And you only get that by good funding. You said 5 years, which really made me think about something. So I'm here in higher education, and every 5 years we go through a reaffirmation with accreditation. Mm-hmm. We have to write an entire self-study. We have to come up with a new 5-year plan. We have to reconsider everything. They're going to come and give us a site visit.
So you do that every 5 years, right?
In 10 years, you get a really big one. And then in between, you get a 5-year checkup, you might say. But
so
both of them are hard. Yeah.
You're talking about a college campus, right? A college that does that. So,
and we're required by accreditation to do that.
So why wouldn't we make that?
I like that idea.
Well, you know what? Just make sure you give me the credit for it. Just say, hey, he talked about this in 2013. He mentioned this, and nobody ever heard him. But anyway, here we are in 2020, and we're having this conversation again. So I think that is.
I've heard. Would there ever be an accreditor of police departments or sheriff's offices? I mean, there may be something like that now, but something along that line.
Well, there's a lot of accrediting agencies out there that say, okay, you're an accredited police department, you're accredited, you went through this type of accreditation, this, that, and the other. But what I'm talking about, so for an example, every state, the chief law enforcement official in that state is the AG, the Attorney General. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, I could talk to you forever about that, but there are so many things that we could do to tighten up and recreate and retool. Maybe we have a conversation about that some other time. But there's some other things that, in this week that I really am concerned about is that the coronavirus is resurging, right? Yep. We're talking about people that are still moving around as if it does not exist. We're talking about holding rallies across the country. I think that we're moving into some strange places. And here's this, right? 2 pandemics operating at the same time. Get this. You got the coronavirus, you got civil unrest and racism, right? And there are 2 common denominators between the two. They're both all contagious. You know that, right? And they're both are lethal.
Yeah.
And
you put all that together.
Exactly.
And even you think about all the people that are sitting home, they've lost their jobs, they can't go anywhere. There's this pent up energy. Where's all that energy going to be going? Where's it going to be moved? That's why I was a little bit concerned about how, the use of videos at a certain moment to stir certain things. I don't know, I don't know which videos should be shown, which ones should become public consumption, but to stir things up when there's already a powder keg, even though there's thousands of videos, these horrible ones that have been out recently, there were videos like that a year ago. There were videos like that 2 years ago. They could have been put into the press, out into the media 2 years ago, but to do it right in the middle of a pandemic, it just seems to me like it's throwing gasoline on the fire right now. Maybe we should all just back off a step or two, or all agree that we're going to move towards solutions. And it seems like right now we're all rushing to see who can say the loudest what the problem is.
I think,
but not the solutions.
I think that sometimes in life, for such a time as this, God creates an atmosphere that causes us to look at ourselves, causes us to realize what's going on, who we are, and basically who's in control, and realize that sometimes we're out of order. Because think about it. In 2020, right, you think of 2020 looking at something as see the vision. If you have 2020 vision, that means you see pretty good, right? But think about it, to have 2 pandemics operating in the same year simultaneously, right? Something is happening, a shift to cause us to look at ourselves as people, human beings, Black, white, Latinos, Hispanic, regardless of what your race or your gender may be. You've got to start to look at yourself now and realize, who am I? What are we doing? What statements are we making? How will history look at us? And I think that what you're seeing in terms of social and racism is that it's something that has been happening. It's been boiling for quite some time. It's just been boiling. And then finally, boom, it hit a place to where you have Black, white, people of all colors marching and protesting. Never before have you seen anything like this. Never. Never before have we seen the pandemic.
So that brings me to a question.
Go ahead. I got an answer for you.
All right. So we talked a couple, 3 weeks ago about exactly what the protest is against. Usually when you're protesting something or someone.
Right.
And so I think the answer then was we're just protesting against systemic racism. That's sort of what we're protesting against. Or maybe it's the police.
So when you say systemic racism, let's pause right there for a minute. And people that are listening to us, I want you to ask yourself a question, right? Do you believe that there's systemic racism?
So I was going to ask you this question. I actually have it written on my piece of paper.
But answer that one first for me.
Well, okay.
Do you believe in systemic racism?
I think that there is racism.
You don't believe that's systemic?
Well, let's talk about the word systemic for a minute. That means that there are systems built.
Okay, so stop right there.
Okay.
So if you say systems that are built, right?
Okay.
Let's take 4 of our most powerful systems in our country.
Okay.
Let's take education system,
Okay.
right? The education system in this country was built on racism. That's a fact, right?
It was.
Okay.
And the police department.
So
right?
let's move forward. The criminal justice system was built on racism, right? Those are 2, right? Religion was built on racism in this country, right? Economics in this country was built on racism. Because remember, the black man was only 3/5 of a man, right?
Yep.
Okay. It's just recently times where things became what they call equal and separate, right? Right?
Right.
In recent times, they were just allowed to drink from the same water fountain, right? Shop in the same places, right? Vote, right? Move in neighborhoods, right? Equal pay. Even though in 2020, the gap of pay is the same as it was in 1978. So think about this. If we just named 4 of the most powerful systems in our society, and they were built on racism, right?
All right, so that no one would argue with, I don't think. But
okay,
here's what somebody might argue with.
So stay with me.
Okay.
If no one would argue with that though point, and all 4 of them were built, the foundation of them were built on that, right? Then at what point do we go back and restructure those systems?
All right, that brings me to my question.
Go ahead.
So you are the sheriff of the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department.
Without question.
Does it have systems of racism built into that sheriff's department?
Of course it did. That's why.
No, now, today, right this minute, are there systems you can point out and say that is a system that is racist?
That was a system, and that's why I was saying when you have systems where racism was built on it, you have to go in and reconstruct those systems. So, for an example, the sheriff's office that I work in right now has more diversity than it has ever had in the history of it. Imagine that, right?
But you haven't answered my question. Can you point to a single policy or procedure that is a part of that looks today like it, not 100 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 days ago, right this minute? Is there anything that is a system?
There was no blacks in decision making.
Right this minute.
Right this minute now, there are people in that agency that have decision making power that don't look like the people that looked before them.
So you really can't point to a system inside of your sheriff's office that is racist.
Yeah, the system of promotion, the way things were promoted.
Are.
Yeah, it's not promoted like that.
So can you point to one thing in the current sheriff that's systematic right now that you'd say is a system of racism in my own sheriff's department? Right this second.
A system in my sheriff's office?
A policy, a procedure, anything that makes up the system of your sheriff's office.
But that's a play on words because the system is built and created and controlled by men. So for an example, you as the president have policies and procedures, right? Right?
Right.
And you as the president or as a person in what I call decision making, you can really navigate that system. So the system, see, that's how people play games. The system, we can write these ambiguous words saying that I'm going to hire this person based on this, that, other, no discrimination, right? But the people that are controlling the system.
So that's why I said I think there are racists. I don't know that every system in the country is racist as well. I think people are. But I don't know that the Constitution of the United States is racist. You quoted a lot.
But see, here's the thing. It
was built by people.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can say these beautiful words and create words that are so ambiguous, right? We the people for the people. That was written, 1776, right? But we the people in 1776 was not we the people, black people, right? But it gives the appearance. But when we look behind the curtain, what's really happening?
So, but wouldn't you say, though, it's because today, 2020, not anytime previously, that today much of it is based on the fact that there are racists doing things, not because the policies or the procedures or the laws or the rules themselves are evil. In other words, I'm kind of hearing that we should throw away our whole system. We should throw away America's systems. We should throw away corporation systems. We should throw away police systems. All the systems are racist. And I'm saying people are racist, but I don't think I'd agree that every system around is racist. I don't think your sheriff office is a racist sheriff's office. I think there are some racists in every place, probably.
Well, there's racism everywhere, Doc.
There's racism everywhere.
Right.
Now, this is, you have to be careful what you say these days because, once you get on air and say it, you could be under the Twitter mob attack and you can lose your job. So I'm going to say something and I maybe get myself in trouble. I think there are a lot of racists in America, and I think they're despicable. I think they're the most despicable people around. I don't know that I would say that America is a racist nation. I don't think we would have elected Barack Obama president of the United States because a lot of white people voted for Barack Obama. I don't think that true racists would have been doing that. I don't think MLK would have a holiday. I mean, here at our university, we don't actually take.
No one is saying.
Let me finish this one thought.
Go ahead.
At this university, we don't celebrate any other leader, including presidents, not even Abraham Lincoln. We take a day off as a holiday for Martin Luther King Jr. That's it. That's the only thing we close for. Are there some racists around Piedmont? Yeah. Is there some racism in different hearts around that even people that aren't acting racist? Maybe so. But as a system, I'm saying that as a system,
no one is saying that all of America is racist. I don't think nobody is saying that.
It's a feeling I get these days when I'm hearing the way things are portrayed.
No. I don't think no one is saying all of Americans.
But they're saying the systems are. All American systems are racist.
No, what they're saying is that there's racism in America.
Well, then don't say systemic then.
Yeah, it's systemic because systemic means that it has been perpetuated through the systems of this country.
So then maybe we should say historically there was systemic racism, but I would like somebody to point out to me a system right now, like the policies and procedures, the actual system.
See, here's the thing though, people don't, because of the laws exist, nobody's going to come out and write something and says, okay, you can't work here based on your skin tone. That ain't going to happen. That'll get you sued,
then
right?
Let's don't say systemic.
So, but what happens though, systemic doesn't mean it has to be written, Doc.
It means systems. That's what the word means. It's from systems.
Right. Systems don't mean it can be, we could create a system that is unwritten.
So maybe some unwritten systems. But that's not the way I hear it.
That's the way you interpret it.
No, I'm saying the way they present it.
Who is they, Doc?
Those who are saying that we should tear down all the systems, like the Antifa groups. We should tear down America's systems. We should tear down capitalism.
I think people
we
are
should
saying,
tear down the family. On the Black Lives Matter website right now, it says we should basically do away with the nuclear family. The nuclear family is a problem, and we should promote more gender warrior type people. People like Bobby Kimbrough who want to be a father and a daddy are probably under suspicion because men are just toxic. I'm saying that there's it's fearful
I don't know about that, Doc. I ain't seen that yet.
I have. I got the quotes. You want to hear them?
I haven't seen that. What I'm saying is that a system does not mean it has to be in writing.
No, but it usually would be a system you could.
Huh?
So, but it would be policies and procedures, right? It wouldn't just be that there's a racist somewhere or a whole bunch of racists somewhere.
You and I could write policies and procedures all day, but then you and I can agree that on this day, this is what's going to happen and still be within the policies and procedures. But we have created a system within the system.
So maybe
there are cultures within cultures.
So let's come together here. So maybe what we're saying is that the policies and procedures in most organizations across the United States and the laws and so forth, those aren't racist. It's the people that create their subsystems that are. It's those who aren't following the laws, that aren't following the procedures, that aren't following the policies that we need to deal with. Not the systems per se. We don't need to tear down all the systems. We just need to deal with the people who are creating their own subsystem. Is that a fair
what I'm saying is we got to look at some of these systems and put people in places that can make decisions, Doc. If you think about it, right, and you just look at it from an open mind perspective, right? Just look around the country, look around the world. You've got to see the racism.
That I'd agree with. Whether or not it's built into every.
You got to see how things keep evolving.
See, I see those as two different things. I think that something that's called a system is very different than the fact that there's a lot of bad apples inside of systems. I mean, think about your organization and your entire
so you saying
law enforcement is under attack.
I get what you're saying is the system is a system, but it's driven by people that are racist.
Maybe, but I'm thinking about law enforcement for just a minute. So,
okay, come back home then. Go ahead.
So I think that we've created a false choice when we have to choose to whether we're going to support black people or the police. That seems to me a false choice.
I don't think nobody is saying support. What people are saying is that, see, that's the divide that I keep talking about, Doc. That's not what black people are saying. Black people are saying, I just want to be treated like my counterpart. They're not saying black. They're black police officers, Doc.
So this brings me to my point.
Notice I'm a person of color. I'm black.
We're not that far apart. I don't know.
We're far apart. But so what I'm saying is that I don't think that people are saying us against the police. I don't. I think that people are saying that treat us the same way you do.
So the police are being denigrated across the country. Morale is at an all-time low. If I was on the Atlanta police force, I can't
speak for. I can't say the morale is low right here where I'm at.
Okay, well, I'm really, really glad to hear that because there's been a whole lot of anger pointed at the police, and the word I keep hearing is that the law enforcement is systemic racism throughout law enforcement. And I'm saying there are some bad apples in law enforcement.
There are bad apples in the pulpit. But
certainly true. But that does not mean that law enforcement as a system is racist today. I don't think your sheriff's office, you worked in the DOJ, you're a special agent for the United States. Were the systems that were there racist, or were there just an occasional racist or two?
Well, 300. If you pick up the Baltimore paper, some of the agents are talking about how there was not enough diversity in DOJ. You think about it.
But that would indicate to me that those people were racist, not necessarily the system.
People control the system, Doc. Systems are made by people. You and I could write up all day long policies and procedure. And then me, you, the camera guy, and somebody else could get together and say, you know what? Even though this is written here, here's the unwritten policy. Here's the unwritten system. Here's how we're going to move.
Yeah. So basically, what we really need to do is have people who are creating the systems that fight against their own policies and procedures. We need to deal with them. Because if there's a racist in the sheriff's office of Forsyth County, we need to deal with that person.
You ever been to a baseball game? Of course you have, right? And you seen the catcher sitting down behind there. He looking at the pitcher, right? And he's sitting there, right? The guy at the bat don't know what the catcher's doing. The catcher's sitting there throwing signals, right? Curveball straight down the middle.
Unless you play for the Astros.
Right, okay, right. So they're throwing signals to each other, right? Those signals are unwritten, right? The guy who's at the bat don't know what's coming at him, right? But the pitcher and the catcher know exactly what's about to go down. The guy that's standing there getting ready to swing has no idea what's coming his way.
All right, so we have 30 seconds left today.
Go ahead.
We usually try to move towards solutions. So the one thing it seems concerning to me, and this is, I think you can't really get to solutions until you have an understanding of the problem.
I got the solution for you.
But it seems like all the noise I'm hearing is about the problem. Very little movement toward anything. I mean, like right now, it seems like that the answer seems to be that the solution is if you're a big corporation.
Doc, your wording noise is not noise, Doc. Those are voices of concern. See, noise is something.
I'm talking about the noise that doesn't help. For example, let's say a major organization.
Everybody has a voice, Doc.
Let's say a major organization is 97% white.
Yeah. And I ain't seen none of them Fortune 500 companies come out and say A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I've heard the NBA say, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But I ain't seen nobody say, we're going to put some people in place.
So
right?
Here's the noise that bothers me. So let's say there's a corporation that does have what you would call a system of racism, but they put up right now a big sign that says Black Lives Matter.
Doc,
they make several big statements.
That's window dressing.
That's my point. It's not a solution.
That's window
dressing. Making noise doesn't solve it. That kind of noise.
You know what we understand in America?
Tell me.
Money.
Amen.
Capital. Money.
Amen.
Money.
So we're out of time. How about next time we spend a lot of time talking about solutions? And I
got some solutions for you. Love. We in this together. We've got to stand together regardless of race, color, creed. We got to realize that we're all suffering from a little PTSD, post-traumatic.
And as a country, we need to put some money.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, that we all are suffering from this, Doc. Black and white people, we are suffering from where we were to where we're trying to go to.
Hate to cut you off, but
cut me off.
I've been cut off
place. That's normal, Doc, for me. Cut me off.
Loving each other is a good place to cut it off.
Love you too.